Hello everybody and welcome to episode 9 of my Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead tutorial series. I'm Icon and today we're going to go deeper into the whole combat topic. So what I'm going to do today is talk about how to get yourself less wounded in combat situations and learn to get the whole job done more cleanly and less dangerously. So to get started, we first want to walk over to somewhere where there are enemies. So let's get ourselves over into that town through the forest because there's nasty wasps in the way. So there's sadly nothing we can do about that. Sometimes the terrain is against you, and we're going to walk ourselves. Well, I can't really remember how far. Well, okay. Just checking out which way to go. So we definitely opened up the street with... That was behind the apartment tower. Okay. Well, let's see. If we can get here via auto walk. Auto walk is always a bit dangerous. Don't try to do this whenever you can avoid it. So there's the first zombie in the vicinity, and he's just a couple of steps ahead of me, so we can't really do anything about that. So first things first, we'll have to take down this dude. So right now, pressing the add key. What's really important is that we are really encumbered at this point. All the items we're carrying around with us are encumbering us. So as soon as we are a little bit out in the a little bit more out in the open, we're going to replace that. Right now, I'm going to wait until the zombie gets close. This environment, by the way, is one of the best to fight at. I'm pressing X now, and we can move over these tiles. And here, when you move over any of these tiles, there is a move cost on these. Wait a sec, the mouse was doing me a favor here. So move cost here: underbrush 300, tall grass 250, and so on and so forth. Your goal is ultimately to use the fields where the move cost is only 100 for yourself and lure your enemies into squares which have a high move cost. Zombies sometimes take down the environment too, so you gotta be careful about that. We're going to take down this dude here. Old-fashioned, because, you know, we're in the middle of the forest, and I don't like to kite around in the forest. So let's get into the onto the open street, and there I can try to explain things a little bit better. So here we are. Out there in those streets, there are always so many enemies all together, you won't be able to do this all at once. The first thing I want to do here is I want to drop off my military rucksack. So check out how that changed my torso encumbrance. So we're now only at +7. That made my melee attack rolls very successful. I'll show you the difference one more time. So if you do this like that, melee attack rolls times 0.77. So you attack worse and less often the more encumbered you are, or less often successfully. So my personal go-to strategy is one thing: as soon as I enter any of these towns to fight, I'll drop my backpack or whatever carrying instruments I have to not be encumbered by these during combat. And then let's check out where our first enemies are going to be. So there's one zombie runner around there. Zombie runners are, in terms of advanced combat rules, one of the least desirable enemies because they are fast. And fast enemies are harder to lure into terrain that's beneficial for you. I'm going to show you later what I mean. So with zombie runners, it's not really unusual to be unable to kite them into a beneficial situation. So here we got we got a couple of zombies chasing us. So this dude, that dude. So we got a couple of enemies on us. So one thing that you always can do, because I see a couple of enemies there, there's a grasshopper, and grasshoppers will always be attacked by the zombies. So the zombie dog and the grasshopper are now playing together. So now what I'm doing here is I'm going to walk into the nature. This tall grass here has a move cost of 250, and that's exactly where I want to have these dudes. So as you see here, the zombie doesn't play nice. I'm walking around here a little bit, and now I lured him into this square here. It ain't ideal, but it's still an advantage, so I'll take it down from here. So that dude is now standing on a move cost 250 tile. Totally acceptable. So moving around a little bit. So what this does, in case you are confused now, when the enemy is standing on one of these tiles, he'll have to use up 250 movement units whenever he wants to move or act. This results in much less attacks per turn that your enemy can do on you. So when you're fighting out in the open, your enemies get exactly the same amount of swings like you do. When you do it like I show you here, your enemy will effectively only get a third of the actions that you can take. And that's extremely powerful to play like that. So this dude here is practically immobile. Okay, he's already very slow. So let's not fidget around here too much, but I think you might already be getting the idea. So that decayed zombie here, standing on these tiles, is extremely powerful for any situation. These brainless zombies, well, you have to just wait in front of them for them to walk onto the same tile like you. Everything else will result in you getting grappled and taking unnecessary damage. So we can now go a little bit deeper into the town since we have cleared this part of the street already. And as you might have already noticed, I haven't taken a single scratch since I'm fighting like that. So this is the power of these strategies. So down there is a boomer. I hope I got myself my gun here. Let's see. I don't have a gun on me. That's bad. So first mistake, I didn't bring a gun. Now, there's more enemies there. If you can't find any nature in the vicinity to kite into, here you can see these brushes here are even 400 move units. A bench is 150. Just check out your environment to discover more options. With enemies that are fast, like zombie dogs, though, don't try too hard to kite them. If they are really up close to you, just smack them. Usually the best approach. Here, luring the zombie into the rose bush. You can just take so many swings and they don't even can act on you. This is really powerful. And this is how you can reduce the amount of suffering you will have to endure by a lot. So another neat option here is also just go into some building and let's see. Most of these things here have a movement rating of at least 150 here. That countered 200. So here's another thing. In scenarios like these, 200 ain't ideal. Check out your weapon. My weapon has moves per attack of 89 by default. When you check out here, you always have to check out the adjusted moves per attack, because that's what your character is actually using. So my moves per attack are actually lower. So I'm using 79 moves per attack. If I take 2 swings, I have used up roughly 160 moves. Now, if I just step back, the zombie is not able to act on me. So here, this thing has 150 move units. I can take a swing, and if I would step away again and lure the zombie into the next obstacle, when you do it right, with the proper foreplanning, your enemies won't be even able to act on you whatsoever anymore. And that's quite that's the power, you know. So the boomer puked me. So just waiting for that dude to pass through the window. Boomers are enemies I actually like to shoot down because, you know, you might have already noticed how annoying it is with this dude. But he's just not... seems to be unable to leave the building. Okay. Crawling zombies, well, they are basically already impaired. A crawling zombie gives you a perfect example of how these slowing effects work out decently. Alright, here. So, can't just slap those boomers, no problem. And one of the most important things in combat for Cataclysm is, in general, find spots where you can fight like that. So, for example, here, this didn't work out. So if that ever happens to you, just lure your enemy around a bit. Don't get yourself grabbed like I did here. Kite it around a bit, and then you can just retry it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You can also just run around, but you might already have noticed the zombies sometimes try to destroy bushes like these. So that's one particular downside of bushes. There's sometimes a chance that the zombies will destroy them, and you just have to accept that. So using your terrain to your advantage is an extremely powerful move, and it's really hard to beat that with anything else. Here is another power move. Here's a children's tricycle. Watch out how powerful it can be. Well, okay. Not if that dude is not willing to step on it. So, let's see. Looking for other opportunities, and here, for example, no, these fence posts, they are nothing. And it's really no shame to kite around for a pretty long time with your enemy, even without getting him into proper combat. So, here I lured him into the trash bin and outplayed myself a little bit too. Always be careful, those zombies really like to outplay you as well. And I think by now you might have already gotten the idea. So let's go down there. Oh, there's even more enemies. So is there a way out here? Yes. Good. So there we go. And here you can see my enemy is hardly even able to fight back anymore. And that's a shocker zombie, and that means we gotta get out of here. I hate to say it like that, but this is by far one of the most dramatic encounters that could happen to you. If you see these dudes, just run. They can shoot lightning bolts at you, which totally destroy you completely, and therefore whenever a shocker zombie is around, it's probably even very, very wise to never enter the vicinity there again. Experienced players like to go to these against the shocker zombies by just snipering them down with a long-range gun by night or something like that, but the gist of it is try to avoid areas where these dudes are at. So we're going to do this, and I'm going to make myself a note here. So let's make that red. Shocker zombie. Whenever there is an enemy somewhere that you can't or don't want to fight, mark them and get the hell out of there. It's one really important lesson in roguelikes, that you don't need to fight any enemy once you meet him. Here you see the window is also a very useful spot, and I'm trying to show you as many of these spots as possible during this during today's run, so you get the idea of what kind of fancy things you can do there. So we are in an apartment tower. I guess that one's swarming with Zids. So apartments and buildings in general are combat-wise quite bad, because when you're inside there, it's really easy to surround you and pin you into a position where it's really, really hard for you to escape from. So really take apartment towers and stuff like that pretty seriously. They can be super hard. These little park spots here, or park areas here, are awesome. All of these bushes and brushes here have a movement cost of 400, and so far I haven't seen anything better. And standing here, for example, is just asking the enemies to get slain, you know? And you see, I'm beating down these dudes without any opportunity for the enemy to act on me. And that's the power of using the terrain to your advantage. This way, you can get so much more done per day. Just be very careful when you're surrounded like that. So we're pretty much dead now because of the situation there. But that was to be expected. So I'll leave it like that out of a simple reason there, because, you know, you see there too what kind of things you need to take care of. Whenever you're fighting, my big mistake here was that I didn't take the situation seriously enough. And therefore, really only bite off as much as you can chew. That's a really, really important lesson when you're doing combat in general. So this one went out really bad, but I guess it helped you to get the idea. What's also very, very important when you are going for situations like these, advanced combat also means that you should be bringing enough armor. This situation here was super bad because I didn't have enough armor equipped on me, and therefore it was also very easy to get killed. Also, getting surrounded like this by zombie dogs was part of the whole drama, and what was also a really big reason why I died there. But don't take things too seriously. When you die, you just die, and it's a good opportunity to restart. We're going to restart with the same character we had before, so let's pick up the security guard one more time, because I really think it's a pretty powerful background there. So let's go for melee training, and I'm going to build a very, very similar character like the last one, but this time we're also going to take fleet-footed into the portfolio. Fleet-footed gives you the ability to move faster than the enemies in general, as long as you're on even ground. This one is one of my favorite traits to make fighting a lot easier. So we're taking the melee and bashing skills, and that's going to be our standard character one more time. So we're taking Screama one more time. I mean, with melee training I could do a lot better, but here we are back in the wilderness. I mean, overall, I think you guys have understood now the value of terrain, and I hope that this demonstration also showed you what you shouldn't do, and that's getting surrounded without retreating. Also, the value of armor is just I can't overestimate the value of armor here. So let's get into this situation one more time. There's a mansion. We can take down a couple of enemies if we want to. But this strategy of using the terrain correctly works out really, really good in every situation that you want to try it out. So, for example, here, this is a lot of enemy, but if you break it up correctly, using those bushes and brushes, it's really no problem. But you should expand that baton first. So, here we go. Sometimes you have to prance around these areas a bit, but it is only working if the enemies aren't particularly fast. Particularly fast enemies, like you see here, love to just dance around the obstacles that you want to put up to them, and if that happens, just take them down while you're retreating. It's no use to prance around targets that are totally abusing their speed in that regard, but you see. High grass, and there we go. This character is merely capable of doing a Screama and is wielding a baton. Beyond that, he has no... It's just a plain starting character. And by just playing the terrain, I'm outplaying an entire zombie horde here. So the last death there was very unfortunate and totally my own fault, as you can see here. So that's the power of terrain, guys. This is, of course, something you need to take care of by yourself too. Like, stepping onto these tiles while you're doing this can be absolutely deadly for you. So I outplay myself a ton too. But I'd say this is a wonderful example of practice makes perfect. As you see here, we're just smacking them dudes down, and there's really not much they can do about that. Okay, so I think I made my point in that regard, and I hope that was kind of like helpful for you. In the next episode, I want to go deeper into base management. So I'm going to explain how to set up a base and do all the automatic sorting things. Of course, I'll have to get this poor old survivor there first, because, you know, we seem to be a little bit set back now. But yeah, I hope it was kind of helpful for you, and I hope you enjoyed what we saw here. And don't worry when you get killed there like I did, because, you know, sometimes you just outplay yourself. Whenever you do so, just try to learn something out of that situation. That's always the most important thing. Dying in this game is never a bad thing. The only bad thing is dying and not having learned anything new out of that. So, for example, in this scenario, my lesson of the day was not get surrounded by zombie dogs that easily, because that was my personal mistake there. So, yeah, feel free to leave me your comments down below. Leave me your experiences with that, or if you have other ideas, or if you think I left out some important things about melee combat, just add it in. I'd be very, very grateful if you did. Beyond that, leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and of course, consider a subscription. There's daily content coming up from my side. All you need to do is turn on the notification bell. So, see you guys next time when we're going to automate a base together. Bye-bye!